back and better than everybody. Hopefully you guys like the new camera angle. Coming off the heels of 6 days of consistent selling pressure, Bitcoin is under attack. Will it be tomorrow when we see $6,000 Bitcoin again? Or is Bitcoin destined to grind this area out like a teenage me with a fresh copy of Final Fantasy VIII? Meanwhile, we dive back into the Binance China Alipay story with evidence we have uncovered highlighting corruption in the communist state as it pertains to cryptocurrency. I know, corruption in a communist state. Absolutely shocking. Now, despite the bearish chart and the bearish trade setups, we will look at some institutional evidence of Bitcoin strength from a macro level that should point you toward the conclusion that although you probably should open up a short on Bitcoin if you haven't already, you definitely shouldn't sell yet. Meanwhile, we also deliver an update on Libra's evil plan to save the world. Hold on, wait. Sorry, just evil plan. I misread my script. All this and more in today's exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. All right, welcome to Breaking Bitcoin, recorded live here in the studio. Today is Wednesday, October 16th, 2019, foul year of our Lord. This is your daily source for market updates, sentiment, and news for cryptocurrency traders. I am your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at crackingcryptocurrency.com. Hopefully you guys are doing absolutely fantastic today, wherever you happen to be tuning in from, and whether you're watching us from across YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook Live, or of course on Roku with the Investor News Channel app. If you want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, follow, share, and engage in the live chat. Hit those thumbs up buttons. We highly appreciate them, guys. First off, editorial note. Thank you guys so much for being patient. Fall shift in sickness, body's pretty sensitive to it, and I was taken down pretty hard. But there's a couple things I want to say. First off, huge shout out to my team. You guys did an amazing job while I was fairly unhelpful over the last 4 or 5 days, doing an amazing job in the group. And that is honestly one of the best feelings that I can have as a content creator and as somebody who prides himself, I guess this is evidence of priding myself, on surrounding myself with talented, motivated, sharp people that continually challenge me to do better on a daily basis and also overwhelm me sometimes with their own impressiveness. So just a huge shout out to my team. You guys are absolutely amazing. I don't know what I would do without you. And just thank you. Honestly, just thank you. And huge shout out to the members as well in the premium group, as well as my friends online. Thank you guys for all your warm messages. Thank you for all your kind words. Highly appreciate it, guys. I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100%. I still feel a little under the weather, but we're going to ride this train until it falls off, and we are back, and we're going to do this. We're going to do a shorter show today. We're not going to do the full 2 hours, but we are going to live stream, and we are going to break down Bitcoin's price, and we're going to cover the latest news, and we're going to hang out. So it's good to see you guys. All right. Of course, today's episode is brought to you by the Premium Trading Group. If you guys are new, experienced, or aspiring traders, make sure to check out the link it's above my head today, the link in the description down below or the banner above, premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com, to work with our team and push your skills to the next level. Also, we are heading to San Francisco Blockchain Week, guys. It is coming up. It is just a couple weeks away. So if you guys are interested in a crypto meetup, if you guys are interested in attending, make sure to let us know. I will be there with the entire team. Not all of our analysts, but several of our analysts will be there. Scott will be there. Ben will be there. I'll be there. It's going to be a great time. So let us know if you guys are going to attend. Let me know in the Discord. We could try to plan a crypto meetup. We've already gotten a lot of guys that are going to be there. So now we're kind of figuring out and planning on how big the event's going to be. So we just need you guys to let us know if you're going to be attending as well. And if you're interested in attending, there is a link down in the description below. That link will save you 15% off your ticket price if you do want to attend the San Francisco Blockchain Week. The way that I understand it, you can either purchase the tickets to CESC, which is the Crypto Economic Security Conference, and you can also purchase tickets to Epicenter, or you can purchase the combined ticket package. Either way, you can save 15% off the ticket of your choice. That's the way I understand it. Make sure to let me know if that is not the case. But be there, or be square, or be crypto cool, or whatever. Just be there. Question of the day. I don't really got one. I guess just the good question of the day is overall, Okay, here's a good question of the day. Question of the day is, despite the bearish trade setups and despite how everything looks with Bitcoin right now, are you guys still fundamentally bullish? Are you guys still of the opinion that despite everything that is happening right now, despite the massive distribution pattern that we had at our recent top, despite the continual lower highs, despite the continual lower lows, and despite the pretty impressive selling pressure over the last 4 or 5 days, do you guys still feel that we are on track to a higher price Bitcoin from a fundamental perspective or from your own macro technical perspective? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section down below, or let me know in the chat. I'd be happy to see, but comment section does really help the YouTube algorithm, guys. Thank you, guys. All right, so with that being said, I want to thank this month's crypto comment giveaway sponsor, Spectre Security Coins. Shout out to you, my good friends. And let's not waste any time. Let's hop over into the live scene. Let's give some cryptocurrency away, and let's break down Bitcoin, guys. Let's go. All right, so here we are in the somewhat live scene, and we are going to give away some cryptocurrency with the random YouTube comment picker. Okay. So we're going to load comments from yesterday's video. And yesterday, or excuse me, not yesterday's video, this would have been Friday's video, was Have the Tides Turned for Bitcoin? Bullish signs and tax guidance from the IRS Bitcoin ETF update. I'm going to say that the bullishness in there has not aged well, but the information on tax guidance from the IRS has probably aged quite well. So if you guys have any questions about crypto taxation, make sure to go check that video out. And we're going to randomly pick a winner, and it is Crypto Caveman, my good friend. He says, cracking crypto for the win and long-term sustainable trading. Yes, that is what we like to focus on here, my good friend. Get a hold of me in the Discord, and I will gladly tip you some crypto, my good friend. Let's hop into the live scene and over to Bitcoin's price. And here we are at Bitcoin's price. All right. And before we start breaking down the analysis, I want to say good afternoon and hello to Daniel, Tudis, Cryptonomics, Danny L, Lefty. What's up, my man? The Cliffman, Crypto Caveman is in the house. Bob the Builder. All hail Justin Freeze. I love you, man. Suman, WV, Saintsy, Mice Elf, Dark Rico, the one, the only. Mr. Ether is in the house. MT Coiner, Ron Legato, Mastache, Knit and Soki, Chowdery, Yugo Chill. All the good guys are here, of course. Good to see you guys. All right. Let me assume the standard position of analysis here. And we're going to start breaking this down. We got some lines on our chart, guys. We're going to talk about some lines today. We're going to talk about some horizontal levels. But before we do that, let's get this in frame and let's zoom in a little bit and let's just talk. Now, I did post this morning an update to the premium analysis channel because, again, I got in going through the messages that I received in bulk over the last 4 or 5 days, which I haven't gotten an opportunity to respond to every single one of them. The questions from a lot of premium members who do have access to the premium indicators were, what were the settings? And I have posted multiple, not multiple, but in the analysis channel and the announcement sections, I've posted recommended settings for the indicators. And what I'm going to have to do is make a very handy go-to guide for that. In fact, we were just talking about that last week, is making that kind of handy go-to guide for the indicators. And one of the things that I like to do and want to prompt you guys to do as well is to experiment with these kinds of things. We go over the strategy building testers in the modules on how to build our own strategy testers, and going through ways to set up your strategy tester in a way that you can quickly adjust and test and back test different parameter settings. But having said that, I did post the settings that I use for these indicators in the analysis channel this morning. Sorry. All right. So when we go to BTC, we did get Minx crossing below the zero line over here on the 13th, October 2019. And this is one of the things that I want to point out with using the EMA settings. So we will just kind of pop open the Minx settings right here real quick. And we do see that this is the way that I have used Minx. I never stopped using Minx. I did post an alternative SMMA strategy for Minx, and I talked about the particulars of that. It's not what I'm actually using. It just does backtest quite well. It's a little different. But using the EMA as your Minx smoothing type and your SMA as your noise smoothing type, does have a very interesting effect of often getting you into a directional trade on a contra-directional candle. And what I mean by that is when it tells you to go long, often the candle will be red, meaning you get a good entry. And when it tells you to go short, often the candle will be green or white in this case because of my chart setting colors, which is just a unique feature of using EMA. Now, it's not every time. Doesn't possess this magical ability to always call the top or call the bottom, but it is quite consistent if you use the EMA for that. What is the down? Of course, there's no upside without downside. The upside is that you are going to get more signals, and some of those signals are not going to pan out. So what do we have to do? Well, of course, we can never have a perfect trading strategy, but we do what we always do, which is we filter. We filter. I was thinking about renaming the name of the trading strategy the sieve, because what we do is we filter out bad trades to the best of our ability with confirmation. Anyways, so we did get a minx cross below the zero line over here on the 13th, 2019. We did get a minx cross under. Over here on the 11th, 2019. So was there a whole lot of price difference between the close of this candle and the close of this candle? No, it's very minimal. It's less than 0.5%. It was probably less than 0.25%, to be quite honest with you. But either way, the minx signal would have come on this candle. Parallax was also bearish. Now, these are the sped up settings for Wadatar explosion. But even still, you would have... Now, we're going to talk about this here in just a second. Let's also bring up the baseline, which, by the way, I did make some code updates yesterday to the baseline indicator, and I did add the Donchian setting into the baseline indicator. So you no longer, if you're a premium member, you do not have to use the CC Ichimoku indicator to have the Donchian baseline. You can just use the Donchian setting from the CC baseline indicator. Boom. Now, okay, so we're going to talk about PTP, and then we're going to talk about price action and levels, because I think both are germane to the conversation here. Both are germane to the discussion of the price of Bitcoin. So remember that when we're looking to take a continuation trade as opposed to a primary trade, there is something that we do not need to look at, and that is Wadatar explosion. So on this candle right here, you would have gotten a justified short entry on, the close of the 13th of October 2019 candle, because this opened on the 13th of 2019. So this candle right here, and if we go look at our Quadriga ATR settings, we'll go short. Let's see if there's any reason to be using median true range. There is not. There is no reason to be using median true range. So we'll be using average true range, of course. Let's see here. We would have already hit on this wick on today's candle. We've already hit our first take profit. Your stop loss should now be at break even, which would be, again, what was the close of this candle? 83.26.99. And Bob's your uncle. Quite simple. And you are holding out for lower targets, which, just so I can verify independently, would be 75.71, 71.76 would be TP2 and TP3, respectively, for those trade setups. Now, having said that, we will be getting something on today's candle close, which would be another primary signal. Not just a primary signal, mind you, but a powerful signal from Wadatar explosion. Now, we've talked about powerful signals before and what they mean. Powerful signals are going to be a signal from Wadatar explosion in the direction that you want to be trading, because the direction that you want to be trading is not determined by Wadatar explosion. It's determined by minx in your relation to the baseline. But it is a trade in which not only do you get directional confirmation, you also get volatility confirmation in the form of a rising explosion level, which is where this black line, which represents the dynamics of the Bollinger Bands as it pertains to volatility, where the Bollinger Bands are, instead of collapsing upon each other, meaning a reduction in volatility, are now expanding, meaning an increase in volatility, or the difference between contraction and expansion, as those terms pertain to trading volatility. Now, what does that all kind of point to? It means that if one was not in a short trade here, a continuation short trade off of the close of the 13th of 2019, one can be looking to take a continuation primary signal at the close of this daily candle. So today is the 16th of October. That's when this candle will be closing. And That's about it. That's about it. I was reaching for something more to say, but it's actually really, really quite simple, right? The reason it took so long to say all that was that I wanted to walk through these things again, because it's been a while. So short Bitcoin to $100 USD. Well, that'd be a pretty nifty trade. Unfortunately, because you'd be getting paid out in BTC, I don't know if that would be a great idea. The traditional on an inverse perpetual contract, on an inverse futures contract might not be the best idea. Now, Binance has, we're going to talk about Binance futures later. In fact, I've been asked to make a tutorial. I do want to make that ByBit tutorial first, especially on how to set ByBit up with a VPN. I do want to finish that first. But one thing that I will say is that Binance futures have seen a good increase in liquidity. There is quite a good 24-hour turnover on that exchange now, rivaling that of ByBit, to be quite fair. And the difference between ByBit, BitMEX, and Binance futures is that BitMEX and ByBit are inverse futures contracts, meaning it takes BTC USD and it flips it to USD BTC so that payouts and deposits, so collateral or margin, and payouts, profits, and losses are realized in BTC. Binance, on the other hand, is different. It is not an inverse futures contract. It is just a perpetual futures contract, meaning, and the way they get around that is that they do not flip BTC USD. They use a stable coin, US dollar tether. They use USDT as their collateral, as their margin, and as their payouts. So all deposits to the Binance futures, the way that I currently understand the platform, is US dollar tether, and all payouts are US dollar tether, which is interesting in its own right. But again, you are staking your holdings in US dollar tether, which is convenient, I think, for liquidity and for moving between assets, but not anything that I would want to hold my wealth in long term. Okay. So talking about PTP, we've talked about lower targets, of course, based off of this candle. That's, again, going to be, just to bring them back up, we'll talk about those targets one more time, 75, 71, and 71, 76. If you are already in the short trade and you are looking for your second and third take profits. Now, we're going to talk about a whole lot today on Bitcoin. So that is current PTP setup for Bitcoin at the moment. And now I want to talk about one other thing. Do this. I want to bring up my notes here just to make sure I hit everything. Okay, so now we're going to talk about price action and levels. Okay, so Bitcoin has been trading in a consolidation range, and we are now at the bottom of that range yet again. Now, however, we are getting short signals fully confirmed for the first time since we've been in this range, which would be hinting at a breakdown to our lower levels that we've talked about earlier. These lower levels are based off of order blocks, demand, and BPVR. Those lower levels are 7,400 and 6,400 to shortcut them. They are in slightly more precise areas, but 7,400 and 6,400 are the lower downside targets that I do see for BTC. With this upper level of resistance, of supply, being 9,300. Now, we do have somewhat more immediate levels of demand. And again, it's a variable between 9,000 and 9,300. I'll be quite fair with you. It is the zone that is important, not any particular price level. Now, I will say that the sentiment, and when I say sentiment, I mostly mean crypto Twitter, stock twits, etc., on Bitcoin over the last few days seems to have changed to bearish. I remember as we were closing out last week, prior to these two down candles and really prior to this first down candle right over here, I remember the sentiment being quite bullish on BTC. Sentiment was quite bullish on BTC. And, the reality is that crypto Twitter really only seems to understand one direction, and that's up. Even the bigger accounts, by bigger, I mean more respected, on crypto Twitter, seem to be far more active when the price of Bitcoin is going up, i.e. when we have green candles, than when Bitcoin's price is going down. They seem to be far more leverage drunk, which is a technical term, leverage drunk as well when the price of Bitcoin is going up, and far more quiet when the price is going down. Unfortunately, I just think that this comes from a lot of cryptocurrency traders, even those who are considered prominent in the space, are not actually very experienced traders. They've had success in a particular type of market. And I don't mean this to be disparaging towards any person who is out there, grinding, doing the trading hustle. It's a tough gig. I mean, I know I've I do it every single day. I've been there, and I remember earning my chops as well. And I remember my first 2-3 years in the market, and they were not pretty. But having said that, you can see this kind of dissonance between people not really having a firm plan for when price doesn't go their way, when a trade doesn't go their way. And this kind of just comes back to having a firm footing, to having a firm foundation, to having a good strategic plan that covers all of these things before you enter into a trade. Exactly what needs to be happening for you to exit a trade, what needs to be happening for you to increase risk, to decrease risk. When is your trade invalidated? When do you take an early exit? I was just having this conversation in person, actually. I met up with a member of the group, and we went and had some lunch. And one of the things that he was talking about was the profound impact that respecting early exit signals has on your overall profitability. Angel, thanks so much for the sub on YouTube. And this individual made the comment that, while they were experiencing a very good hit rate, they noticed that they weren't making as much money as they assumed that they would be because of not respecting early exits, because losses hurt more. Losses take more away from your account typically than a win. So I don't know why that activated. Hey, gee, that was weird. Anyways, so respecting early exits, and it's going to understand. I'm sure you don't, Google. I'm sure I don't understand either. I don't know why you're talking to me right now. So, and this is a key component of how I capture so much P&L when I average everything out and also average to dollars at the end of the month, is because even if one has a lower hit rate, so even if one has a 50 or lower than 50% hit rate, meaning you're right half or less than half the time, if on your losses you take small losses because you are exiting consistently fairly close to your entry price, you're not actually losing that much money. And if you're obviously on a win, you're hitting TP1, so you're moving at least one ATR, you are consistently racking up more on your gains than you are on your on losses, even if you have a string of losses. And again, the reason this is just another poignant example of why, when you have your technical strategy figured out, that's not enough. You do have to do the magic of risk management and position sizing and money management. That is where, and that's what nobody wants to talk about. And that's why that's kind of like all that I like to talk about is money management, risk management, position sizing, and consistency, and using the correct tools to get these numbers. Because that is the real magic. That's the real work. That is what really will put the dollars into your trading account at the end of your trading quarter, trading month, trading year. Doesn't matter however you measure your time or your profitability. There's all ways to do that. It is the real work. Just like they say, if you want abs, right? It's not sit-ups. The real work is done in the kitchen, right? Depends on what you put into your mouth. Just like with that, just with your trading account balance, right? Impressive charts, high hit rates, all of that stuff. It looks pretty. Doesn't mean you're going to make money. If you're the real work is done in the execution window, as I refer to it, which is your trade terminal. And the main work is done with how many contracts you buy. That's the main point. And how you respect your early exits. That is going to be the most important part for consistent profitability, is paying attention to early exits, getting out of a losing trade as soon as you notice that it's a losing trade. Not as soon as you get a down candle. You have to have a signal. We talk about this. You have to have a signal, and you have to have a structure, and you just listen to that over and over again. And once you start measuring your gains by how much money you have left in your trading account at the end of the month, as opposed to what you began with at the beginning of the month, or at the beginning of the quarter, or at the beginning of the day, however you're measuring your profitability, I think that's the correct way to measure your success. Not, oh man, every single trade on my trading journal is green, or oh man, look at all these red trades on my trading journal. None of that matters. If you take 8 losers and lose a couple $100 and have 2 winners and make 400, you made money. And that's all that matters at the end of the month. We're here to make money. We're not here to be right. We're not here to look fancy. We're not here to look impressive. We're here to do the work of trading. Sometimes it's not sexy. Okay, so now I do want to append this with the fact that even though we have a bearish trade set up in front of us and a current bearish trade, on a higher time frame and from a fundamental perspective, I am still quite bullish on Bitcoin. So to answer my own question of the day, yes, I do not believe that Bitcoin has topped and is on its slow way down to form a macro lower high. I do think that relatively Bitcoin has bottomed and is on its slow way back up to form a higher high. So I just want to insert that here. That's just my honest opinion. However, as a trader, I need to trade the chart in front of me. And I recommend that you guys do that as well. Mixing your investment strategy with your technical strategy, so mixing your investing ideas and your trading ideas, is not a recipe for success. That is typically a recipe for disaster. So I will be taking a full risk short tonight, but I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to talk about the range. So because we are at the bottom of this range, and we'll go to the lower time frames here to kind of look at it in more detail here in just a second. Because we are at the bottom of the range and hitting at a demand zone, which to be frank, I think is quite weak. I think the demand zone that we're tapping into is quite weak. But again, I've said this before, and if we play the tape back, excuse me, if we play the tape back on this, we can see how this has played out. Can Bitcoin bounce off a demand zone 3, 4, 5, 6 times? Yes, it absolutely can. We saw it happen multiple times over here in our larger consolidation, i.e. distribution, that we experienced after we topped out back in June and broke down over here in September. So because we are at a demand zone or the bottom of the range, does not mean I'm not going to be taking the trade. That doesn't mean that. What it does mean is that I'm going to be far more sensitive to an early exit. So now we see why I went into that diatribe on early exits and profitability and position sizing and carry that over into what this means right now for the analysis on the chart. Doesn't mean I'm not going to take the trade setup in front of me. I'm going to take the trade setup in front of me. But it means based on supply and demand, I will be far more prone to cut a losing trade quickly if it doesn't move in my favor. Because if we bounce here, we'll just get more chop. Now, is it possible? We don't really have anything that we can point to. Very similar. So if we look at price structure, again from that distribution period from from June to September when we broke down, and I talked about this many times. We can see consistently lower highs and equidistant lows, with a few attempts at higher lows. But again, the lows are, for the most part, especially on closing basis, pretty much goddamn the same, 9,400, 9,300. And then we broke through that area. And we didn't break slowly, we broke quickly, because that's how Bitcoin moves and that's how breakouts tend to happen. And we'll look at this on the weekly time frame here when we look at our weekly moving averages. So we don't have anything in this trading range to point to, because we have this order block, this reactionary movement off of the lows. We have a lower high, we have a higher high, and again, still from now different from this area here. We don't have consistently low closes. We have two fairly consistent low closes at 8,000, and then we only have one low close down around 7,850, with price currently at 79.54. So a little bit of ways to go for that. We do have fairly consistent low wicks down to around 7,700, 7,800. So nothing really indicative in this range of, oh, we're just going to grind lower. However, I would assume, because we are in a bearish stance, being below the baseline and everything flashing bearish, that if we do bounce from here, we will most likely make a lower high, somewhere below 8,400, because we did end up faking out above, on this close above, we did end up faking out above our local high over here that was formed on the 30th of September. We did close above that level right here, consolidated for one candle, and then just came right immediately back down into the trading range. So Bitcoin does have a propensity to hold these ranges fairly well and then break out of them violently. So this is why, unfortunately, sometimes, and it's not unfortunate, it just is what it is. For a trend trader, we're not really looking to scalp this range, to trade this range. We've talked about the dangers and the perils of that. Now, if you have, we've also talked about the volatility expander before, and we've talked about different strategies for trading ranges. And again, knowing when to turn a bot on, to turn a range trade bot on, or knowing when to activate your range trade strategies. If you can if you can position that correctly, if you can do that correctly, then you're going to be set up for a lot of success. But again, we're always looking for the large gains, because just as in the realm of investing, I want to point this out, just as in the realm of investing, right? There are going to be, in trading, in the chart, there are going to be many candles that are not very conducive to your overall profits. And then there's going, especially with Bitcoin, because it's highly volatile, there's going to be several candles, generally one or two, that if you are not in the trade for that candle, you are going to miss out on the majority of the gains, right? We could see that time and time again, i.e. the majority of the profit is to be made in these very large swing movements from Bitcoin and not in these consolidation, scalpy range swings. Therefore, we should be looking for any and all opportunities to retake the trade to the downside, because that is the dominant direction of the trend. And again, we are looking for that highly volatile move. Now, we talked about lower downside targets on the daily. We talked about consolidation range. We talked about PTP, and we also talked about high range targets here. Now let's flip over to the weekly. I'm going to flip over to the weekly chart here real quick. And I want to bring up our CC-EMAs, and I want to talk about their play here for just a little bit. So I want to point out a few things here. So we've got the baseline off. We just have our CC-EMAs. Okay. Now, if we go and look at how well PTP works on the weekly as well, let's go back over here. Now, obviously, trading on the daily was better for the entry into the November collapse. We did get the trade signal from Minx the day prior to the dump, but on the weekly time frame, we would have been able to enter with a powerful signal from Wadatar Explosion, a continuation signal from Minx, and obviously being below the baseline here as well. And of course, Parallax being bearish. We didn't have Parallax back at that point in time, though. But that would have gotten you in for this trade right here. And one interesting thing that I do want to point out is, just as I said earlier, Minx crossovers and cross-unders, which is why we use them as early exit signals. If we look at the weekly for when Minx crossed above the noise line here on the 10th of December 2018, that was on the last down week of Bitcoin's price. And that was the best time to be exiting out of your short position. You would have sold the absolute bottom. You would have covered at the absolute bottom, which again, when you use the exponential moving average smoothing type for Minx, it does have a propensity to do that. However, I want to point out one thing here real quickly, which I've noticed is pretty uniform with Bitcoin. Look, now it's smoother here. It's smoother for the ascension of the upside. But again, markets are built up slower than they break down. So it's not uncommon that we see more volatile movements with price coming down than we do see with price going up. Parallax flipped bullish on Bitcoin back in February, the close of the 25th weekly candle. And we gained, excuse me, we gained the 13 EMA on this week right here, the 11th of March 2019, which would have gotten you in earlier. We talked about this as well on the daily. We would have gotten into the long trade on March 31st. Which is a very special day for me, but it was also the day right before the large pump to the upside on Bitcoin. On the weekly time frame, however, let's see here, actually, and that would have been a confirmed long signal for Minx, Wadatar Explosion, and obviously Parallax being bullish, and again, gaining the baseline there as well. But if you look at the more impressive gain, it's obviously this candle right here, and what happens pretty much immediately as soon as we gain that weekly level, we blast right to the 55. All right, so once we gain the 13 exponential moving average, we pretty much just blast right off to the 55 exponential moving average. So for those of you who are following along, that is our primary baseline, previously primary baseline, and secondary baseline, with our tertiary baseline being in there for different purposes. And although that's not what happened, well, again, one can argue about how well this happened over here, because we do lose the weekly baseline over here on the 26th of August 2019. We do have an immediate reversal week and pretty much three just consolidation weeks, right? We have 3 weeks of down movements. We actually breach the baseline. We put in 3 fairly boring weeks over here. And then what do? We just move immediately down to the 55 EMA. Now, we've talked about the 55 EMA being a long-term bounce target. We've talked about the 55 EMA being the secondary baseline and the role that it plays. We talk about baseline crossovers and cross-unders. Confirmed bull market here. Once the weekly 13 crossed over the weekly 55 EMA, because that's exactly what happened back during the last bull season as well, and it did not cross back down under. However, it's always a potential. We're always looking at these things. So there's a few things here on the weekly chart that I do want to point out. that I do want to point out. Parallax flipped bearish, obviously, over here on the 12th of August, 2019. So it's keeping us in a bearish trade. And again, we did get that weekly bearish setup over here on the 16th of 2019. Now, you would have had to ignore the baseline to take this trade, and you would have gotten in for the majority of the downside gains breaking out of this distribution pattern. Now, we are weekly grinding this area out at the 55 exponential moving average. And again, I want to point out one very important thing that might bring this all together for us. Look at what Minx is potentially about to do on the weekly close. Now, if we get a sudden bearish movement, I don't think that this is going to pan out. But if we continue to grind this range, then Minx is going to cross above the noise line on the weekly time frame. And again, the last time it did that, when we were in bearish territory, was on the very last down candle from the November collapse, which was the best time to be covering your shorts. And although not moving into a long directly, again, in retrospect, obviously was the best place to potentially long, buying the bottom. But again, we don't do that. We don't pick tops and bottoms. We just learn when to take our wins. If that does happen, that will be a pretty strong sign for now until we get a movement below the 55 EMA, which is pretty much just death territory, and not looking for longs whatsoever until, again, we see something like this. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I wanted to point out the potential crossover of Minx, which has the ability to be predictive, and the fact that we are grinding along the 55 exponential moving average. Now, again, I know everybody's going to have their own little special, simple moving averages and EMAs that they like to look at, and death crosses and bull crosses and golden crosses and this, that, the third, 5 times, everything to the side. I just made that up. I don't really think for me anyways, this is just how I trade. I don't find any of those other EMAs to be very helpful in predicting the market. Again, I'm doing predictive analysis right here. I'm looking at things that could happen instead of a direct trade setup that is in front of me, as opposed to the daily PTP trading system that I do utilize. So this is weekly analysis. This is looking at what might be, what's come, what could be in the future. Put that shit on a t-shirt. And I wanted to point out that phenomenon of, again, once you breach the 13 EMA, which again, didn't happen over here. Again, you did breach it here, but then you didn't have an immediate follow through. You pretty much can bet your bottom dollar that there's going to be a swift and sudden move to the 55 EMA. It just happens enough on all asset classes to be pretty profound and powerful, particularly in Bitcoin. Okay. So we'll get rid of those CC EMAs there, go back to the daily. And that's pretty much all I have to say for Bitcoin right now. Now, one last thing that I guess I do want to point out is going back to the hourly time frame. Here we are at the bottom of that hourly closing range, again, around 7,900. We are seeing a little bit of a reaction, but mostly we're just grinding it out. We haven't really put in a bottom. Nice Darth Maul hourly candle, faking out both longs and shorts. Anybody that is quick to try and short this area. Again, I think that the better setup is not to try and do this intraday. I think the better setup is to be looking for the daily actual breakdown momentum of this range. But again, we've got low wicks down to the $7,700 level. So could we see price go that low before turning back around and just chopping us back up? Yeah, we absolutely could. So Parallax has had us bearish since over here intraday, 14th of October 2019 at 2100. This is UTC -5 Chicago time, and capturing that trade pretty good. Minx has us in for multiple hourly trades in this environment as well. And looking at the hourly setup for Minx, we did get a nice rising explosion level on this candle. Got full confirmation of a short continuation trade on this candle. We actually need to bring back the baseline. There we go. Yeah, one could have gotten a full continuation trade off of this. And 1, 2, not yet. 2 of 3 TPs. For this hourly short trade, capturing pretty much the majority of this movement. Stop loss would now be at break even. Actually, I'd probably have a trailing stop loss on this at this point in time for the intraday trade. And you would be sitting on your hands because actually, to be quite honest with you, you'd be out of the short trade because Minx did cross over right here. And again, as I said, does seem to have the ability to give you your exit signals on candles that are in the direction that you want to be exiting on, right? So even though you did have lower price, one lower hourly candle after that, this was still quite a good hourly trade, 1, 2, 3 hours. And you grabbed a good section of the range, hitting 2 of 3 take profits and closing out here. And you are now just waiting for another continuation signal, which WADA is not giving you. Paralox has you long-term bearish, so you are looking for bearish continuation setups, and you're waiting for Minx to cross under on the hourly to take this trade further. 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame did give you a fresh 4-hour signal on this low candle, actually. Let's see. So we got a 4-hour short here. Let's see if we got confirmation on that. No. Right here. Could have taken it here. On the 15th of October, 11 o'clock in the morning, UTC, Chicago time, would have had you in... the 4-hour didn't really give you a good setup because you were supposed to exit here. So you would have missed out on these movements. The hourly did you good. The hourly treated you well. 4-hour, not so much. Not on this recent move to the downside. Just too much chop. And again, one of the things that I noticed, obviously, on reviewing the price action over the last, few hours. Now, the hourly candle a little bit better, but for the most part, mostly chop and then one big candle. Mostly chop and then two big candles. Mostly chop and then one big candle. So, as I said, especially on lower time frames, especially with Bitcoin, having less sensitive parameters on the lower time frames will help you stay in those trades longer, because just as in investing, there are going to be certain candles that are so fundamental to you capturing any profit whatsoever that if you're not in the trade for those candles, then you're really stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. So keep that in mind. All right. So with that being said, let's stay down here on the hourly, and I think we'll do a little bit of chat engagement. And go up and see what my good brothers and sisters here in cryptocurrency have to say. Thank you guys for the warm welcomes. Highly appreciated, man. Libra, the evil skunt. Good to see you, Satoshi Nakafomo. And don't forget death threats, yes. Have I lost weight? I hope so, man. I try to eat quite healthy. What we had for breakfast this morning in the Wise household was bacon. Bacon's very good for you. Don't believe the lies about cholesterol. Just stack it up, baby. Grilled romaine, yes. Cooked salad. And egg. Whose photos are there on those two frames? There's actually 3 frames here. My oldest daughter, my son, and my youngest daughter. 3 of those little guys. Hey, Wally, what's going on, my friend? Let's see. Cryptonomics says, yep, BTC has seen worse days. All in, baby. Hugo Chill is neutral. Market will go its own way. Long-term bullish. WV thinks that Bitcoin is generation 1 blockchain and so many threats that I am bearish long-term. Forever bullish, short-term, not so much. ACDC says, hi, Justin. Thanks to you. Now orders can be manually updated at ByBit, like in TradingView. ByBit listens to you. I miss your free indicators at ByBit. I love your show and watch it every day. Thank you. Thank you, man. Highly appreciate it, my good friend. That makes me feel good. I'd like to believe that ByBit listens to me. I think it's more that I listen to ByBit because I asked them, I'm like, hey guys, when are you adding these features? And they're like, soon. And I'm like, okay. And then I come back and tell you guys, hey, ByBit's going to add these features. And then it happens and you're like, ByBit, listen to Justin. But maybe. Generally, good to see you, my friend. Roy Coin, am I feeling better? I'm feeling better, yes. I'm feeling better. I'm still not 100%. Do I change the settings of my indicators for FX? Yes, I do. Da Vinci, good to see you, my good friend. Dennis, it's great to have you back. It's good to be back. Minx, 14th of October. Let's go. Dennis, when Minx printed the short signal on the 14th of October, Wadatar was printing a green candle. Does the color of the bar in Wadatar matter, and does it matter if it is below the dead zone line? So the answer is yes, it does matter. The answer is also it depends. So default, out of the box settings, WADA needs to be the color that you want to trade. Also needs to be above the explosion level. There is an additional filter that you can add where price also needs to be, where the column also needs to be above the dead zone. That's optional. I added that in to be a little bit more restrictive because there are going to be times that where you want that, especially in a ranging market. Now, but the primary way to use it is direction, the color of the direction you want to trade in. So red for short, green for long, and above the explosion level. If it's a rising explosion level, even more powerful. So now you can adjust your settings, but yes. And again, looking at my chart right here, 14th of October, 2019, that's not a primary short signal. But again, something that I want to talk about is the continuation setups. So when we're looking for continuation setups, Wadatar doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what Wadatar is doing. If we are bearish and we get a continuation setup, a continuation signal, we just go. Hopefully you changed your outfit from shirt to t-shirt. Fashion God, could you give these settings for Wadatar sped up again? Thanks, great to have you back. No problem. It's 1020. Now, there are some slight optimizations you can make to channel length and multiplier, but they are quite minute, to be honest with you. So Google's been doing that a lot lately on my devices too. I told it to delete itself and it acted all offended. So, by the way, I'm going to be making some updates to Minx to make the early exit signal more visible so that it pops up. But it's when Minx crosses over. That is a Minx early exit. D says, I'm here to look fancy. I'm wearing a wool scarf. Gabriel, good to see you, my brother. AGW's checking in. I still think gold and silver will rally big before cryptos. The time will come for cryptos, but I think it'll be a lot longer wait than most seem to think. I think that's a reasonable conception. Yes, I think that Bitcoin will rally harder than gold and silver. I do. That's controversial, but I definitely think that gold and silver will rally in a very, very large way. But it's possible. It's possible that that might take longer than we think as well. You know, the sentiment seems to be among my anarchist fellows that the end is upon us and the evil totalitarian governments and their financial structures are falling at the gates. We are Hannibal breaching the gates and the bankers are going down. Bitcoin is here, baby. And the reality is, yeah, that could absolutely happen. But they've been saying that. I've been saying that crap for 15 years. And now, this is also a similar concept. Things fall apart much faster than they take to get built together. The center cannot hodl. And name that quote. I just don't want people getting overly crazy. People need to be patient with this stuff in a very long-term way. Given we are pushing so many times on the support, wouldn't you agree that support will break further down? I think that's the most likely idea, yes. But again, I want to point our attention back to how many times Bitcoin can bounce off of support and put in a little rally. With kids around comes extra germs, worth it, I'm sure, but sucks when you're sick. Yeah. Two words, long term. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Now I'm caught up with the chat, and I'm at the recent. Nick O'Donnell asks, what am I predicting? Man, sorry, guys. I'm going to have to do something really nasty about my cold here. But anyways, yes, short position. Short position. The proper short position continuation signal should have been taken on the 13th, October 2019. But we are getting a powerful water tower explosion. And if we look at targets, that's volatility expander, Rodrigo ATR, short targets off of price action, not price action right now, but PTP right now, 75.93, 72.10, and 68.27, which coincide fairly nicely with longer term targets anyways, based off of supply and demand and VPVR, 7,400 and 6,400. And it's really going to take a put, honestly, guys, here's one thing that I do want to mention. So let me repeat that again, because that does seem to be a question. Because we are in an area of demand and we are at the bottom of the range, I would be far more prone to let a full risk short trade go, because I don't really feel like getting caught in chop and pop. Bitcoin has an annoying capacity to trend extremely strongly and then just consolidate and bore everybody to tears and fake out a lot of directional traders. And as a directional trader, that's really where filtration comes in the most importantly. Now, the other thing that I do want to point out is the confluence on the daily time frame. So where do we have the 30 period Donchian coming in at on the daily? 9,047. On the weekly, it's 8,800. But I want to, on the weekly, as I often do, I want to point more towards the 13 EMA and the 21 EMA, the primary and the tertiary baseline. And again, over here, same thing. The weekly 13 EMA is coming in at 9,070. Tertiary coming in at 8,900. And again, another level of confluence is if we look over at our current supply zone based on VPVR and also based off supply and demand at 9,300. That's a wide gap between 9,000 and 9,300, but it's not that wide compared to Bitcoin's price. We really need to see price action above that level, above 9,000 to be bullish. And here's the thing. If we do get up there, I don't think that I would be prone to sell that level. I don't think that I'd be prone to sell that level. I would actually probably be more prone to buy that level based off the fact that we are on the weekly time frame in a bullish environment. So, unlike a lot of people that want to sell the retest of this level, I would sell the retest. But if we close above, if we are above 9,000, I don't know why every time I try to draw an up arrow, it looks like delta or something. I would actually think that that's quite a bullish sign. And we would see this in hindsight as consolidation, distribution, fake out of the shorts, or fake out of the longs, excuse me, and a massive turnover for new longs. But you also have to remember, this is predictive analysis. The PTP will tell me exactly what to do on the daily, regardless of what I think. And I think that a lot of that is going to be coming from the fact that I'm fundamentally bullish on a higher time frame. Those dollars I keep stepping on will pack down. Gui, yeah, I do want to look at GBDC, man. This was part of my morning analysis, and we're going to take a break here pretty shortly. And then when we come back, we'll look at Forex news and Ethereum, it seems, by popular demand. Yeah, GBDC looks horrible, man. Now, the one thing that I want to point out about GBDC is, and I'm not going to do a whole lot of technical analysis on here, I just want to look at GBDC as a potential leading indicator, because this is basically, we are here with, God damn it. What's wrong with you, Paint Tool? We are here, okay, with Bitcoin's current price action on this candle right here. And GBDC has already proceeded to the downside and broken this level, giving No craps whatsoever. So that's exactly what you would see over in regular Bitcoin spot land. Again, look at the similarity. We are right here. We've got this level, and we are looking for a pretty swift break down below, which would probably, over here on the CMEs, probably give us a gap, to be quite honest with you. Depends. Another interesting thing I want to point out on the CMEs here as well is, we did return to the infamous, 8,500 gap. And just as an order block, that level, everything cresting into that level has been sold, as it probably rightly should, based off order block price action strategy. Everything cresting into that order block, here's the order block, has been sold. Here's the order block right here. Everything's been sold. And that's the lower range of the order block. So if we are viewing GBDC as a leading indicator for BTC, GBDC is already broken down, and GBDC is already broken down, giving us pretty much a good prediction of what we can expect to see from BTC. Already breaking down below that level of support and shifting down pretty low. Now, there is something else here with GBDC that I would be bereft in not pointing out, which is that the levels aren't perfectly aligned with BTC and GBDC. We can see here, if we glance over here, this gap fill / order block that we are cresting into right now. Now, we haven't closed the daily below that, okay, but we are basically threatening to. So, in a sense, it's possible. It's possible that everything that I said is valid, which it is from a certain point of view, as Obi-Wan Kenobi would say. But if you zoom out and you look at the difference in where supply is on GBDC and the difference on where supply is in BTC, right? That's that $7,400 level. So we haven't quite gotten there yet. I think that there's a good, strong case. Again, if we go back over to did I just delete all my lines? The Bitstamp chart? Well, shoot. There we go. Well, I think I must have accidentally deleted my lines. It's all right. They'll be easy to bring back. But again, I think that there is a strong case for 7,400 regardless. So if GBDC is telling us, no, we're just going down to tap demand, right? Which is right here, filling this order block, filling this gap. Then BTC is most likely going to follow in the same direction. Again, I think that either way you slice it, the impetus is good, with price currently trading at 79, 7,800. Movement down to 7,400 is profitable no matter how you slice that toast. But we are going to be driving pretty deeply into a demand zone. So keep that in mind. And over on BTC, over on the CME futures, the other bearish confirmation would also be the gap acting as order block, which it is an order block. If we go back over here and see how this gap was really formed, and that level was sold into. We broke through, filled the gap, came back up, rejected, everything from there. From this chart, which I think lines up, again, very, very well with my $9,000 level, which is where I want to see price back above before I'm really bullish, is 89, 85 is the top of this gap. And that's, again, 89.85, I've been told, is very close to 9,000. So I would be very, very prone to see price above 9,000 and be pretty goddamn bullish. Not as in a sell the rally bullish, as in I'm pretty bullish. I don't really have such an element or such an area here for GBDC. I think that's more strongly correlated, or maybe I've just done deeper analysis on the CME BTC futures and obviously BTC spot price. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. And when we return, Forex, news, Ethereum by popular demand. Before we go, as a trader, I'm often asked what metrics I use to evaluate an exchange before I trade on that exchange. And I always say the same thing: security, ease of use, and customer service. Now, we've talked about security before, not your keys, not your coin. So what is the good alternative if you're going to be trading? Should you be trading on a spot exchange and dumping all of your coin onto an exchange, giving them basically exclusive rights to your private keys. No, you should not. I think the best alternative, the best practical alternative, is to use a leveraged exchange where you can deposit a fraction of your Bitcoin that you were holding in cold storage so that you can use leverage for its proper purpose, which is to reduce counterparty risk, reduce the amount you have to deposit on the exchange, and still trade the correct position size while maintaining ownership, which is a unique feature of Bitcoin, maintaining ownership over the majority of your actual coin in cold storage where it is safe. Recommend a Ledger Nano X if you haven't gotten one already, of course. Your own cold storage opportunities or uses are going to be your own. Ease of use. ByBit's super easy to use. I love trading on it. I trade on ByBit. I made the large switch from trading Bitcoin from BitMEX to ByBit, mostly because of number 3, which is customer service. I've said this before, not a paid sponsorship. I have not yet found a cryptocurrency exchange that it's actually pleasant to deal with customer service, and ByBit is that exchange. Every single problem that anybody's ever brought into me about ByBit, they've fixed. Everything that ByBit said they'd deliver on, they've delivered. So never really found me an exchange that I like. Always just kind of dealt with the bullshit before. But anyways, guys, I really enjoy trading on ByBit. If you guys would like to trade on ByBit as well, there is a link down in the description. Previously, in the month of, actually leading up to the 1st of October, that link would have gotten you an extra margin deposit. It does not currently, full disclosure, does not help you out currently. I am petitioning ByBit to get extra privileges for hooking people who sign up with that link up, but it is down there. And yes, by popular demand, I will have a tutorial on setting up ByBit with Windscribe VPN and also just a pretty basic tutorial on using the exchange at first coming out. But if you're not familiar with leveraged exchanges whatsoever, make sure to go watch my Trading Crypto 101 videos on leveraged exchanges. ByBit.krakencryptocurrency.com or bybit.com/a/cc. We'll be right back, guys. Let me know if you guys got any questions in the chat. And that's about it. I'll see you in a few minutes. All right. And we are back, guys. We are back. Thank you guys for holding through the break. And let's get right into the news of the day. Okay. Boom. And here we are. So, last week's... Let's try that again. Last week's Binance P2P China Alipay story has seen some interesting developments, with certain details being revealed, highlighting corruption in the communist state, the kind of particulars that, according to CZ of Binance, are better left unsaid. So shortly after CZ made his tweet, seemingly confirming that WeChat and Alipay payment support for the Binance China P2P platform, the Shanghai-based payment app Alipay publicly disputed that claim, stating that they monitor and block crypto purchases on their system, which is officially true. Alipay's swift response and aggressive stance eventually forced CZ to acknowledge that Binance has no direct relationship with Alipay or WeChat. Now, this drama, which we've already covered all of this up to this point, so just bringing you up to speed now. This drama, however, deepened when via a tweet, Larry Cermak, who is the director of research at the Block Crypto, claimed that a lot of shady deals do go on under the radar in China's cryptocurrency space. Cermak went on to allege that companies like Alipay and WeChat are well aware of the fact that OTC Bitcoin transactions are running rampant on their respective platforms. Now, while the official policy at Alipay and WeChat is to freeze any account found to be engaged in cryptocurrency transactions, Cermak claimed that exchanges use political insiders to pull the necessary strings to circumvent this ban, and that this is well known in the industry, which it is. Now, without naming specific exchanges, Cermak did describe larger Asian cryptocurrency exchanges to have what he called, quote, dedicated unfreezing teams. The jobs of these teams is to use their government connections to persuade Alipay and WeChat to unfreeze their clients' accounts. Now, his original tweet detailing this industry practice has since been deleted, leading many to speculate that Cermak gave in to pressure coming from bigger, more powerful forces interested in not inviting unnecessary scrutiny from Chinese authorities wary of looking corrupt in the communist regime's eyes. Now, this revelation of avenues to bypass strict payment controls might come as news to outsiders, but is apparently common knowledge among industry insiders in the Asian crypto exchange world. Now, tellingly, CZ seems to have been troubled by Cermak seemingly revealing too much. The Binance CEO replied to his tweet saying, quote, some things are better left unsaid. Recommended no more news like these for the sake of the people, our industry, and your business. Let's see here. So just to take you through the kind of the chain of tweets here, this is Alipay's initial response to CZ saying, whoa, man, hey, we block all cryptocurrency transactions. This is CZ clarifying, saying some confusion. Binance is not working directly with WeChat or Alipay. However, users are able to use them in P2P transactions for payment. And then we have the pullback. Now, we do have an update from Larry Cermak saying that, quote, I didn't realize how sensitive this issue is, given that people talk about it very openly, privately, but a story like this deserves a proper treatment from a journalist rather than 3 half-baked tweets. I stand by everything in those tweets, though, because what he said was factually correct. So I think this details the uncomfortable truth of corruption where large amounts of money are involved. And him taking the kind of safer of two roads here by saying, yeah, you know, I stand by what I said, but maybe that's best deleted. But again, Let me know what you guys think about that. If you look corrupt to the Chinese government, you're pretty bad. So, you know, this kind of comes on the heels too of the fact that it's not, I wouldn't say it's actually too dissimilar to what we see in any first world country. The banking and financial industries are absolutely corrupt. And it's not because necessarily that there's bad people in those spaces. I know good people who work for large financial institutions. Okay. The reality is that once you institutionalize power, corruption inevitably follows. Too much authority over people's lives and people's decision-making skills, especially in the realm of finance, is just not a power that's meant to be centralized. It's a power that's meant to be decentralized. But unfortunately, because of whatever, the hypothalamus, our brainstem, primate brain, just the way that we've organized society, and the fact that, you know, the majority of mankind's history has been pretty much a slow drudging, climbing. Drudge is really the only word I can think of it, through a lower level of technology. And we are now in the most prosperous era that mankind has ever seen, pretty much thanks in part wholly to technology. We've never really had the tools at our disposal to fix that problem, to decentralize that power, because, you know, we wanted to be safe from the terrors of the wild. And the only way to do that was to come together right now over me. And that unnecessarily, well, perhaps for the time, necessarily involved the implementation of institutions, religious institutions, government institutions, political institutions, financial institutions, because that was the most effective way to get stuff done, but also brought with it rampant corruption and malfeasance. And we are just in an era where we are slowly but surely transitioning out of that into a better decentralized era. And it just takes time, and we'll just continue to point out bad actors when we see bad actors. But I do want to point out the pretty much rampant double standard here. China doesn't want its citizens to conduct Bitcoin trading or transactions, even though owning Bitcoin is legal in China. But individuals want to use political connections to be able to do what they want to do. So it's another example of those with the levers of power and those who have access to the levers of power being able to do what they want to do and circumvent the rules. Very similar to, you know, individuals going to jail for what government officials get slapped on the wrist for. So not a whole lot of difference here. More of the same, unfortunately, for humanity. A little bit more positive news, however. And this is what I alluded to earlier when I talked about, although the current bearish setup is, although the current chart is bearish, and we have to trade the chart in front of us, from a macro perspective, from a fundamental perspective, we can obviously see the strength of Bitcoin as a challenge to the world reserve currency. So Grayscale, which is the hodler of GBTC, let's put it that way. It's not the correct term, but we'll stick with that. Grayscale's Q3 2019 report has just been released, and it is showing the strongest demand to date for crypto products, with their Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, seeing the most action. Now, US and overseas investment capital appears to be flowing into Grayscale Investments' various digital asset investment products, with their new report revealing over $250 million of new money described in their just released report. Now, this report does highlight that effectively their quarter after quarter inflows have tripled from 84.8 million to 254.9 million, marking the strongest demand for Grayscale's products since the firm's inception. Now, just to keep you guys reminded, the only people that are allowed to invest in GBTC or Grayscale are accredited institutional investors. So Q3 saw an average weekly investment for all of Grayscale's crypto products, nearly $20 million, 84% of which came from institutional investors, mainly hedge funds, which again, I will take this brief divergence to just talk about the fact that for those, and I said this before, this is a completely different tangent. For those of you who are looking to be professional traders, the way out is through, man. The way out is through. You do not need to, I've said this many, many times. If you don't have a whole lot of money, trading is not a pursuit, especially in cryptocurrency, where you just have to have a lot of money to make a living off of it. No. Trading profitably is a skill. It is a skill set, just like any job. And if you learn to do that, there are people who will finance you. By the way, for United States citizens, for pretty much anywhere, it's going to depend on your jurisdiction where you live. But for the most part, this is fairly uniform across the world because America has pretty harsh laws. In the United States, completely legal. Completely legal for Forex, completely legal for cryptocurrency. Securities are a different matter. Can't trade securities with people's money without a license. Cryptocurrency, on the other hand, thumbs up, good to go. So, now in terms of where the money is flowing into into grayscale investments, U.S. institutions accounted for slightly less than 50% of the incoming investments, while offshore money, possibly less encumbered by regulatory concerns, accounted for the greater half. So offshore investments greater than direct U.S. institutional investment. Now, Grayscale's Ethereum products saw a respectable $100 million year-to-date in investment. Along with that, their Litecoin XRP and handful of other altcoin-based products have also seen institutional investment. However, they appear to be greatly underperforming the asset leaders, Bitcoin, and to a smaller degree, Ethereum. Furthermore, 67% of inflows this quarter were into Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, or GBDC, and 33% were into Grayscale products ex-Bitcoin Trust, so non-GBDC products such as GF or GXRP. This is a bit more balanced that they've seen over the last trailing 12-month period. Now, overall, timing is curious. While institutions generally do not FOMO into markets, this report does suggest that this record-setting activity at Grayscale occurred during the summer months, which have marked the peak thus far of this year's bull market. And again, one thing that I do want to point out, institutions are typically not that apt to exit their positions. So pretty strong evidence that regardless of what the chart says, from a higher time frame perspective, institutions see the need to hedge their funds in Bitcoin as well. So we can see on this chart, this is GBDC investments quarter over quarter, and we can see the different color bars relating to the different Grayscale products. We can see obviously here that this quarter, the quarter ending in the 30th of September 2019, was the largest investment period for Grayscale products, i.e. institutional demand for Bitcoin or Bitcoin exposure, not direct physical Bitcoin, Bitcoin exposure to date. It's the largest inflow of money ever seen into Grayscale investment products. Now, kind of curious to what you guys think about that. That falls into my bucket of more stuff to be very, very bullish about Bitcoin for the foreseeable future for. And again, although the correct trade setup in front of us might be to open up a short sell, do not think and will never advocate for selling all of your Bitcoin. Don't think that's the thing to do. Now, quick update on Libra's evil plan to save the world, or just evil plan. Despite the bad publicity over Libra's major partners being scared off by pressure from heavy-handed regulators, the newly elected managing director and COO of Libra, Bertrand Perez, it's a great name, by the way, Bertrand, one of my great heroes in life, Bertrand Russell, said that it won't slow down its development. Speaking with French magazine Capital, Le Capital, Perez said that it is better that they did it now than later. It's typical, that's just going to point out the irony of that, because that's kind of what you hear. And a lot of this, I'm gonna kind of shoot rocks here. A lot of this is kind of what you would hear from a jilted lover, a spurned lover, whose significant other has left them. Well, better they broke up with me now than later. Well, no shit, man. Dropouts notwithstanding, 21 of the original 28 companies who joined the Libra project formally signed the Libra Association charter on Monday, along with appointing its board of directors, as well as the executive team for the Libra Consortium. Is it consortium or consortium? I don't know. I never know that one. Although 7 of the original members may be out for good, over 100 other firms are said to be waiting in the wings for a membership opportunity. Again, kind of what you also hear from a jilted lover. Well, you don't know that 20 people have just hit me up on Tinder. Your loss. And typically what you would want to see from that, typically the proof would not be, not that we have 100 members waiting in the wings, but just, you know, show the people that it signed the charter. Bring the people on. What's the long wait for? Why do we have 100 members waiting in the wings? Why are they in the wings? Why are wings necessary at a time when it would be to your best interest to rally as much public support as you possibly can? Now, the Libra Association stated that about 1,500 organizations wanted to board the Libra train, but only about 12% of those met the requirements. Asal, thanks for the sub on YouTube, my friend. One second. Now, a quote from Bertrand. He says, quote, "Since the Libra project was announced on June 18, 2019, it has generated excitement around the world. The Libra Association confirmed that over 1,500 entities have indicated interest in joining the Libra project effort, and approximately 180 entities have met the preliminary membership criteria shared at Libra.org. So, why are you guys taking so long to bring them out of the wings? While the Libra project continues to face fierce scrutiny from regulators and governments alike, and fears over threats to existing sovereign currencies being a leading point of contention, some are speculating the departure of big players like Visa and MasterCard may in fact be for the best. Burdened with regulatory compliance and existing business models, the partners from the legacy payment processing industry may have represented dead weight or liability to the disruptive force that is cryptocurrency technology. Although I do not think that Facebook should be at the helm of bringing this disruptive technology to the world. It's possible that Libra's grand vision may have even conflicted with the interests of these partners, and going their separate ways may have proven to be the most beneficial move for the project. I let you guys be the judge on that. Do you guys think it's devastating that Visa and MasterCard kicked rocks off of the Libra Association, or do you think that it is actually a good sign because those guys are old news? Either way. Still not very happy about Libra, but as I've said before, I do think that either Libra or another corporate coin will see massive success, whether we want it to or not. And I believe that it is through that success that its downfalls, that its shadowy underpinnings will highlight the necessity of something that is truly decentralized like Bitcoin. All right. Back to the live scene. And price has not moved very much. All right, so you guys know what that means. It's party time. I love this scene. Okay, but for real though. The sign on the Libra article is Aquarius, not Libra. Copyrights, man. Copyrights, bro. Naturally. Let's go look at Ethereum on ye old Finexico, and then we will go look at the Forex markets, guys. All right. So, exit long signal came over. Oh, that's not actually, sorry. Bringing up our Donchian. All right. Let's see here. So, very similar to, well, I guess Ethereum just kind of standing alone in this regard. Not overperforming Bitcoin. Well, you know, it just kind of depends on how you look at it. Let's go look at... let me pull open this. No. Back to the Finex chart. Okay. So below the baseline. I.e. looking for a primary signal, because once we do breach and come back down below, we do need to wait for a fully confirmed signal. Let's take a gander over here. We haven't gotten one. We do have a falling explosion level, i.e. indicating contraction. And you can overall see that from price action. Not a strong directional trend. pretty much white candle, red candle, white candle, red candle, white candle, red candle, white candle, red candle, and then a pop, chop, pop, pop, or chop, pop. Not a strong directional trend one way or the other. However, we do have some signs coming in here. We do have a short signal from Minx. This is a primary short signal. We do have Wadatar explosion confirmation, and we do have Parallax giving us a macro bearish trend, meaning that all the signs are there. We don't have a rising explosion level, but we are below the baseline. Therefore, we also do have a confirmed short signal that will be coming in on Ethereum on today's daily close. Now, given how Ethereum has been overperforming Bitcoin, this is going to be a decision that you guys will have to make. Ethereum has been overperforming Bitcoin to the upside, not to the downside, pretty much leg and leg with Bitcoin to the downside. If you look at the gains or losses on Ethereum, BTC to BTC USD, percentages are very similar. So again, as always, I'm always more prone to take a short position on Bitcoin rather than do the complicated brain jumble of doing trading via proxy. Although taking BTC to the upside as a proxy for taking a long on Bitcoin in its consolidation range did prove to be a little bit more successful. But again, as with the talk of investment, there were two candles in here that if you were not in for the long trade, you did not make really any money. Two candles represented the majority of all of this profit. Now, I just want to point that out. Ethereum often being a leading indicator in volatility for Bitcoin. One would consider it potentially the other way around. And a confirmed short signal coming in for Ethereum on today's daily candle. Looking at potential downside targets is going to be pointing us at 162.85, 151.68, and 140.50. Surrounding up for those of you who are trading on a leveraged exchange. And let's go look at this on FUSD on BitMEX, for example. That's going to be 162.20, 150.80, and 139.45. The numbers are slightly different over there. And of course, on ByBit, should be seeing very similar numbers. 162.38, so 162.35, 151.16, so 151.15, and 139.94, so 139.95, where you can round up to the 140 level if you so please, with a stop loss pretty much right at our 30-period Donchian 190.43, i.e. 190.40. I like the Little John reference there, agency. Not everybody can see that, but of course I can. That's about all there is to say about Ethereum, to be quite honest with you. Actually, FBTC on Bitfinex, on the other hand. FBTC on the other hand. FBTC, on the other hand, is above the baseline, so we don't really have a confirmed short trade to the downside. Everything was been quite bullish, and bullish trades have been the more successful, the more successful of our Ethereum setups. So that's pretty much it. Pretty much on FBTC. Do want to point out, let's go find our originator here. There's another aspect here as well, which is going to be order block theory. Which we're not even quite close to yet. So there's no point in talking about that level whatsoever. So let's talk about this level. Too wide. Too many lines on the chart would be generated off of that, and I do not like that. And we're not even close for that SR flip anyway, so pretty much not even pointful to talk about. Hutch, thanks so much for the sub on YouTube, my good friend. That is a great answer, Ken. It's not that simple, but I guess that is the simple answer. Elias, premium.krakencryptocurrency.com, my good friend. You would have to join the premium trading group. So pretty pretty out on FBTC. Just the day I turned auto buy on Coinbase. Regular contributions to the Bitcoin ledger. Yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion for FBTC. I'd be looking for continuation longs on FBTC. So still kind of in a splayed, hedged position on Ethereum, to be quite honest with you, as far as trading would be going. Now, having said that, let's go into Forex, which, to be honest with you, I have not been very active in Forex over the last week. I only have one open trade. That is the Euro Swissy. I've already taken some profit on this wick and holding the trade with my stop loss slightly above break even. And the reason why is slightly above break even is because with TradingView integration into Oanda, I can just click and drag, and I click and dragged it too far. And that's it. There's really no wonder why. That's odd. Should not look like that. I do have a scrolling ticker, man, and it's like it is not working properly. There we go. It's fixed. That was weird. Why did you guys tell me the scrolling ticker wasn't working? And back down to the bottom of the screen. Boom. Well, there you go, my good friend. That was odd. I had to fix it this morning and had to fix it again for some weird reason. Any users? Now, water. Start off with our Forex news calendar. And you guys can see pretty much the last day that I was seriously looking was October 11th. So we need to look at the 17th. What do we got coming up tomorrow? We got retail sales coming in for the British pound from the Office for National Statistics. Let's see, what have we gotten over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actual, it's hit and miss, so that means I'm not going to trade it. If we had a pretty steady progressive trend, we've always beat the forecast, or it's been spot on. So forecasted was negative 0.2, that was negative. Forecast was negative, was positive, blasted price to the upside, strength of GBP. It's just better to avoid it. So, the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, not really interested in that, to be honest with you. Crude oil inventories, that's fairly significant, I'm not going to lie. That's also, that just helps with the fact that I do not want to be trading really dollar pairs at this point in time. Everything is still fairly whack-a-noodle. We're getting back there, but not quite yet. And CNY. We've got GDP coming up. Ooh, yeah, definitely do not want to do that. Anything could happen with that. So we're going to be staying away from open yuan trades. We're going to be staying away from dollar trades. And we're going to stay away from the pound. And that pretty much makes our life pretty easy over in Forex land. So let me note that down. Yeah. Okay. So, Aussie yen. No go. No go on the Aussie yen. We've got a Minx crossover, cross under on this current candle. And pretty much not a good setup, honestly. Pretty much an entry here and exiting pretty much right at break even again if one would have taken that long trade. Aussie Kiwi. Nothing so much to speak of here. Let's see here. 1, 2. Would technically be a continuation signal, but these are the ones where I want to see a rising explosion level from. We still have a falling explosion level. So we're going to wait on the Aussie Kiwi, but it is going to go on my watch list for a long. I do want to see a rising explosion level, and then we can take the Aussie Kiwi long. We do have the Parallax bullish flip yesterday, even though yesterday was a down candle. We are consolidating a little bit right around the baseline, 30-period Donchian, and I don't really like getting flipped in and out of trades frequently, but this is definitely one to watch. Let's kind of see. I also want to see how Minx interplays because, you know, properly technically, if we get this cross under here, then we'd be waiting for the crossover signal, which is what I'd want to see. Aussie dollar staying away from it. Canadian Swissy is hurtling us toward an exit signal. Definitely not an entry at this point in time. Let's see, we had pretty decent entries over here for this trade. Out on this candle. Nope. No. And then, yeah, this one would be getting us out pretty much close to break even. Actually being a little drawdown right now. CAD Yen is also looking to give us a cross under here fairly soon. Minx is curling over. Would have gotten a decent entry here. The Swiss yen has been performing quite well. Good entry right here. And you would have smashed out quite a few TPs already. All right, here, 1, 2. No, just the first take profit. Only the first take profit from the initial entry. About 72 pips. And you'd have your stop loss at break even right now. So not going to be trading it. Need to wait for a pullback or a continuation signal. Now we can look at euro pairs. And ooh. Let's actually we need some confirmation here. Where is Minx? Here we go on this candle. 4-6. Yeah, we did get a crossover yesterday. Yesterday would have been a good continuation signal on Minx and powerful coming in from Wadatar explosion today. So that is also a potential long, the Euro Aussie. Looking for a breakout. Euro CAD. Nothing here right now. Looking for a continuation. No, actually, no. Looking for primary longs on the Euro CAD, which we do not have yet. Euro Swissy, I'll also be exiting this trade today, taking my profit on this trade because we do have the Minx cross under. That's an exit signal. So I'll be closing this trade out fully around 46 pips. Euro Kiwi. Nice continuation signal right here a few days ago on the Euro Kiwi. And probably already at TP1. So I'll probably just be waiting for the next entry for Euro Kiwi. Be biased to the upside. Staying away from the Euro Pound. Euro Yen, same thing. Good long entry right over here. Already hitting TP1. Stop loss at break even. Potentially a trailing stop. Actually, I think we just hit TP2. So trailing stop, yeah, for sure. Hey, Wayne, good to see you, man. Staying away from the euro dollar like the plague. We can skip all pound pairs. Go to the Kiwi CAD. Kiwi CAD would have gotten a good short signal right over here on the 13th. Should actually be the 12th, but I digress. And I'm sure we fit in TP1 already, maybe even TP2. Just TP1. Just TP1. Stop loss at break even, holding out for more. So, no. Kiwi Swissy. I know the Kiwi Swissy is going to be giving us a fully confirmed signal tonight. So there is my trade. I think there's my trade. Kiwi Swissy short. Consolidation, a little bit of chop and pop at the baseline. And now a good momentum candle to the downside. Let's go, baby. Active watch list. Kiwi Swissy. And yeah, basically won't be contaminating that with any other trade. Let's skip over the dollar pairs here. Let's go to the Aussie CAD. The Aussie CAD did give us a short signal yesterday. Aussie CAD did give us a short signal yesterday, and we are pulling back up to a little bit of a better price, even though we did have a pretty nice stab down, about a 33 pip stab down already. Now I'm going to assume that that actually did not hit TP1. Did not. So opportunity to get in at a little bit of a better price. So I'm biased long on the Aussie Kiwi. I'm biased short on the Aussie CAD. I need to take the stronger of the two directional signals. Which would be the Aussie Kiwi at this point in time. Now, since I'm going to be shorting the Kiwi Swissy, that gives me a little bit more strength along the Aussie Kiwi as well. But I could also then, in that case, just trade the Aussie CAD and avoid any secondary exposure whatsoever. And I'm all about no secondary exposure. And I will take this trade. But at the same time, that's secondary exposure, and I'm entering one candle late, which I'm allowed to do. But you have to balance that against your counterparty risk as well. Not counterparty risk, but counter trade risk as well. So current thoughts is short Aussie CAD, short the Kiwi Swissy, close out the Euro Swissy in profit, and potentially long the Euro Aussie. That one's on the chopping block. That one is on the chopping block. Oh, what's this? Potential higher highs in the equities market? Gasp. Who saw this coming? And the GBDC hodlers look at the NQ chart and the Dow Jones chart, and they go, oh, they just cannot stand soaring equities markets. I love it. This is all I've been seeing on my stock Twitter for like the last, it feels like the last 6 months. I'm not going to lie. It really feels like this. It's just
tonight at 11.
Doom! And I don't buy it, man. I think we're going to see higher prices in the equities markets. Significantly higher prices in the equities markets. Let's look at the weekly. That's a sexy trend right there. I do say so myself. Anyways, good entry into the NQ on this candle right here. Or here. 1.47 on the NQ. Let's go look over at the SP. Failure to achieve so far, but I could see a pullback here, drive back down into demand. About 29.40. 29.40 to 29.17. This demand zone right here. Before we end up tagging and taking this out. But I do fully believe we will take out 3,000 on the S&P. It's just a matter of time. Let's get back to Bitcoin. Oh, you know what? Before we leave, let's look at a few things. Let's look at Bitcoin dominance. Currently at 68.80. Bitcoin dominance continuing to drop off. Unfortunately, it's been pretty good for the altcoin markets, guys, but we do have a, we do have a pretty steep pullback day for the altcoins. We have a pretty steep pullback day for the altcoins. Now, we've had small pullbacks on the altcoins, for a while now, which has been pretty good, man. Most altcoins are looking to be in a fairly decent place, right? And I still think there's a lot to be said for some fundamentally bullish signs on altcoins. But again, still in the realm of just trading them. There is obviously a little bit of a different case for Litecoin. I've talked about Litecoin before. But that's going to be an investment. I feel like I had an incomplete thought there. But today, pretty drastic pullback on most of the altcoins, on most of the alt BTC pairs as a reaction to Bitcoins. But a BTC dominance dripping down below the 30-period Donchian, which is also can be considered a sign that you can begin looking speculatively to trade alt BTC pairs. Tether dominance. Still pretty high, guys. Still pretty high. Hasn't taken out all-time highs at 2. But a lot of, unfortunately, fear in the industry. And the decentralized finance index has been pretty murdered to try and trade. Anyways, let's go look at longs, which are pretty much following right along with Bitcoin's price. Currently have still quantitatively overwhelming the amount of shorts. 206 million shorts, or $206 million in, longs. $206 million in longs on Finex. And only $74 million in shorts on Finex, without a really sharp spike or drastic increase in the amount of shorts being put on, to be quite honest. Overall, pretty, what's the technical term here, man? Pretty poopy area of the market. That's why, as I said, driving down into an area of demand with low volatility and low volume, I would not be surprised to see a bounce off of this area and more continued chop and pop. However, I still think the correct trade to be in or looking for is the short. With that being said, guys, let's going to hop over into the chat and see if there's any questions to answer before I bugger off for the day. Sean Bond says, can I advise on what might be a signal continuation to the downside on the short term as opposed to a bounce here to prior levels? Well, again, if you're using some supply and demand levels, this would be Pretty logical place to be looking to stack some longs up, I think, if you're trying to trade this range. But if you're a systems trader, then I would be looking for minks to cross below, and I would be looking for, we're below the baseline, so we don't really need. Parallax is bearish. So yeah, I'd just be looking for this line to cross under this line. That's how I would view it. And I'd be looking to take this break of consolidation to the downside. Did my beard get longer, or is my head on upside down? I might have forgotten to reconstruct my head this morning, but yeah, one crazy thing about being a human, man, when you have hair, it tends to grow, except for some people in their 30s due to poor genetics, because it stops growing vertically, but it does tend to grow vertically downwards. Yeah. And you should actually like go back and, I think it was back in like April. I had a pretty shaggy beard, bro. Congratulations, I made it to the end. Yeah, I wasn't really planning to do a 2-hour show, Ricky, but you guys are just amazing. NZ, say we bounce, to what levels do you think we can bounce? Well, we're trapped in this range that we have not been able to respite ourselves from, and because I did, unfortunately, delete these freaking levels earlier, I'm going to have to go back and redraw them. But hey, we can do that together too. Oh, come on, don't tease me. Come on, baby. Baby, can you dig your man? He's a righteous man. Baby, can you dig your man? Name that quote, guys. Okay. Try not to delete those levels again. Really bright colors hurt my eyes, I'm not going to lie. But it is what it is. So in the immediate future, if we do see a bounce, I would expect us to be moving into the vicinity of 8,400. Just trading in this range, man. Trading in this range. If we get a nice reversal bullish signal out of this, which would be everything but below the baseline, which would be Parallax bullish, Minx bullish, Wadatar bullish, and Minx giving us a signal to take to the upside, then I'd be targeting the baseline, which is coming in at 9,047. Is Verge on the Bitcoin of disaster? But with that being said, guys, let's get on out of here. Hey, what's up, guys? Good to see you over there. Welcome to the panoramic view. And thank you for joining me for another exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. I've been your host, Justin Wise. Hopefully you guys had a fantastic time. I had a great time. It's great to be back. Thank you guys so much for the support, the love. If you guys want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, follow, share us to your friends, your family, people you don't even like. It's all good, man. Spread the word, spread the news. Also, make sure to hit the thumbs up button if you have not already, if you're watching us on YouTube. I don't really know what to tell the people watching over on Roku. Stay tuned for the next episode on the Investor News Channel lineup. Let's see, moving on from that. Obviously, make sure to check out the link in the description down below, premium.krakencryptocurrency.com, if you guys would like to push your trading skills to the next level and you guys would like mentoring, as well as access to all of our rules and our tools. In addition to that, if you guys, I guess I don't really got something strong on that. Join the Discord, guys. That's where we hang out. It's where we can keep the conversation going in between the shows. Discord.krakencryptocurrency.com. I will be back tomorrow at noon p.m. to break down the crypto markets and deliver the same witty repertoire that you guys have become accustomed to my best ability. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, and or death threats, please leave them in the comment section down below, and I will attempt to respond to you within the next 48 hours, especially if it is germane to the show. Question of the day. Are you guys fundamentally bullish on Bitcoin from a macro perspective, or does the current chart get you bummed out and it's all the way down, down, down to $100? Let me know in the comment section, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be good.